stop somehow. I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, it's time for me to say a very pleasant night to you, wherever you are in St. Kitts and Nevis. A time for me to say good night to the entire Eastern Caribbean region, and to you, wherever you are all over the world. I'm at liberty to say good night. I can say good morning, and I can say good afternoon, whichever is applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. I know that some of you are in Africa, there are some of you in Europe, there are some of you in Asia, and there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So again, I am at liberty to say good night. I can say good morning, and I will say good afternoon, because one of such greetings is applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. My Straight Talk family, in the event you are joining me for the first time, please let me say welcome to you, and trust and hope it would not be your last time. And just to inform you that Straight Talk is a participative program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's, in the process, continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation, my Straight Talk family, on yet another occasion. And if, again, you, I do want to thank Almighty God, as I said, for blessing me with yet this another opportunity. So we can have some discourse, and we can have rational discourse at least, but remember, with our opportunities, we must express and we must take charge of our responsibilities as well. And my Straight Talk family, we normally look at our observations in review, and that I mean we look back at those issues that made the news during the course of the week or last week, and we follow up on the things we think are important to us as a nation, to us as a people, because we do like to keep you current, we do like to keep you at all times posted, and at all times we do like to ensure that you're informed. And we can reveal tonight that Straight Talk has not received any updates on the Prime Minister's first official visit to the Republic of China on Taiwan. I know that he was scheduled to move on to Dubai. I'm not certain if that has already taken place. Forgive me if it's me who is not really up to date and not following what's happening. Except to note that the Prime Minister and the Premier were seen really enjoying a bike ride, I think it looked like, on their short sojourn in Taiwan. Some people asked about the assistant to the Prime Minister, Ms. Hazel Jeffers, and what we can say in relation to the role that's being played by this young lady, based on what was explained from the official sources, that we're told that Hazel Jeffers, if I can put it in layman's language, she is the new Dora Thomas in the Labour cabinet. In other words, Hazel Jeffers to Prime Minister Drew, much more, Hazel is to Prime Minister Drew, I should say, which is much more than what Dora was to Douglas, because Dora only served the snacks and the food to the cabinet members. So she's much more than that, we are told, based on the duties that were outlined to me, and I was trying to find information. As a follow-up as well, we made an announcement in relation to the next general election in Dominica. That was announced by Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, and that is scheduled to be held in Dominica on the 6th December 2022. And the Dominica Labour Party, the DLP, has since that announcement, I think it was on Tuesday, have launched 10 fresh candidates. Meantime, the opposition UWP has announced that it will boycott the said election. This, however, and this is how, rather, Prime Minister Skerrit responded to that threat of a boycott by the United Workers' Party. We know they are in somewhat disarray, so I believe that Prime Minister Skerrit used the opportunity to just get back to the polls and, according to him, seek a fresh mandate to govern as from 2023, following the COVID-19 pandemic. And in fact, we are all part of that recovery. But here's what Prime Minister Skerrit had to say.
You do not want to get defeated. So their decision not to contest the elections has nothing to do with incomplete report of the sole commissioner on electoral reform. Nothing to do with this. Their decision not to contest is as a consequence of their inability to rally together as one organization and support a single individual as leader of their party.
And that was Prime Minister Skerrit making the point that the UWP at this time cannot rally and support one individual, one leader. We are aware that it was Lennox Linton, the leader of the UWP, who in fact resigned as leader some weeks ago. Now, the other observation we are still considering as a continuity, we continue to demand transparency and accountability in respect of our own citizenship by investment program. And we're not going to stop until we get the answers. Because I'm sure you will recall that Attorney General Garth Wilkin made an announcement to it that the prison project is on pause. We heard that, and it really baffled all of us. And he went on to say that the prison project is not a priority for the government. At the time, Garth Wilkin was speaking with Jamie McPhail on the popular Freedom FM radio in St. Kitts about 1 month ago. The AG said this on Freedom radio.
You mentioned projects that fall under the CBI program. You know, one of those projects that has been spoken about a lot, it's the prison project, right? Where are, let me not say ask where, but have you as an administration figured out what the way forward as to that project?
I can tell you two things in relation to that without going into the great detail. It's on pause, one, and it's the prison is not a priority for this administration.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Well, it's not laughter to the country, because since assuming office, we can confirm that Prime Minister Drew has signed 2,000 and more, underline that figure, 2,000 and more CBI applications since assuming office, and they are mainly, we understand, they are mainly for the prison project. The Prime Minister has not and cannot deny that fact, as he continues to deny the people of the Federation the right to freedom of information. One of his many campaign promises that he has failed to deliver. I am extremely disappointed, though, with Garth Wilkin, who took an oath to be faithful and to bear true allegiance to His Majesty the King, Charles III, I think it is. But what about his fidelity or his faithfulness to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis? If this is so, or if he has such fidelity, then he ought to come back to the country and tell us whether he misspoke or not. But this, no doubt, is being classified as a state secret that Prime Minister Drew continues to hide. So from 2018 to 2020, when I was still in cabinet, I asked, and I never got the information, and I submit that it was wrong. So from 2018, 2022 to 2022, under Timothy Harris, we never got the information, and that is definitely wrong. Now we have a new Prime Minister in the person of the Honorable Terence Michael Drew, and he has refused to give the country the information, and that is wrong as well. And I submit that two wrongs cannot make it right. It is a new day, and we expect a new way. So I will continue to submit that citizens are the base of democracy. Thus Kittitians, rather, and Nevisians must be given the breakdown of the different nationalities that have acquired passports under our CBI program. And I'm not going to be a palace guard. I will ask until we get the information. How many Chinese, how many Russians, how many Nigerians, Iranians, and how many Libyans? Yes, Libyans. All we need to know, Prime Minister, is how many applications you have signed since assuming office. All we need to get, Prime Minister, is a breakdown of every nationality of the 30,000 persons, we are told, that have acquired passports under our CBI. In other words, there are some 30,000 citizens out there some part of the world, and we need to know what the figure is and what are the nationalities of these citizens, our fellow citizens, we can say. Another state secret that is being concealed is the NIA secret to expand the Vance Amory Airport through a lease or sale agreement with an Egyptian or a Russian billionaire who, we are told, recently purchased 18 acres of land costing US $18 million and is selling 1-acre lots as a part of his gated community development on Nevis. Yes, gated communities are coming to Nevis. But what is troubling, though, is the proposed expansion of the Vance Amory International Airport in Nevis and the secret lease or sale agreement about which the Premier of Nevis has not provided any information whatsoever. It's a secret. Just like he tried to have this international hub some years ago, which was denied in St. Kitts, he announced it in Nevis. We never heard anything about that. But we asked the question, is the law firm of Brantley and Associates doing any or have done any legal work for these investors? Is there anything in it for Mark? Brantley must say if it is true. And if it is, then he must also say who are these investors. Meanwhile, we continue to keep our friends in the USA, Canada, and the United Kingdom abreast with the aim towards getting help as well to further investigate this troubling development on Nevis. There's more to come, but those are my observations in review tonight. My Straight Talk family, tonight I have entitled my main thesis, though, Charity Begins at Home. And as my point of departure, I must first declare that the beauty of St. Kitts and Nevis lies in our cultural, religious, and inter-island diversity. And as a young boy growing up in St. Kitts, I've always heard them say that charity begins at home. And I'm sure you have heard that growing up as well. But my Straight Talk family, I firmly share the view that if we stay focused and work together, we can make this period in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis one where economic growth and prosperity touches all citizens regardless of their gender, regardless of their economic and or political status. But for this to be achieved, our development must be people-centered and must be people-driven and must be anchored on human dignity and security. In 2015, St. Kitts and Nevis entered a period of togetherness as the newly formed tripartite political coalition between three political parties, one on Nevis, the CCM, and two on St. Kitts, the PLP and PAM, that coalesce under a Team Unity banner. After a successful term in office between 2015 and 2020, thence came a sudden lust for power by Sean Richards, which led to the near destruction of the People's Action Movement, or the PAM Party. This was coupled with an unbridled greed for money on the part of Mark Brantley, which blinded those whom he led captive, and in the fulfillment of his passion, hurried them madly along without regard for the truth at times, without regard for justice or injustice, and accompanied by a disgraceful contempt for the people who supported this new concept called unity. This led to a premature election on the 5th of August 2022. 2 years after the country gave the Team Unity a resounding mandate to govern the country until 2025. and the insidious attempts of Richards and Brantley to dismantle the coalition of parties resulted in the demise of Team Unity and the sudden rise of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. Since taking office, however, many concerns have been raised about the excessive number of trips overseas that the new Labour government ministers have embarked upon over the last 3 months. The size of their contingent or the group they travel with on these trips is also quite alarming. This is the time when, as a government, they should buckle down and learn how to govern. How can they perform as an administration when they do not understand how government works? They are young, and that should give us some hope. But the need to settle down and focus on running the country and executing the work that the people sent them to Church Street to do. Instead of settling down and doing the people's work, they are trying to convince me, Ian Patches Liburd, that Team Unity ain't doing anything good in this country. And I can't accept that. And some of them are so bold-faced, out of order, and rustic to come on Straight Talk and chat this kind of choppiness. I call it real choppiness. Some said this, or one said this rather.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, my dear.
Sir, these people in St. Kitts, when the Speaker of the House used to shut down Douglas and they can't say nothing, and now are you still in all your feelings? That's why we get rid of them. We get rid of all of you. Look at a break your bill. Look at a plot your bill, Patches Liburd, and shame on you to be drilling it still. If I was there, I would have take some egg and back in Timothy's face. Timothy is wicked. Timothy said, go and fast and pray. Well, he and his minions, them eat millions of dollars. So that woman who called in and said about how, they bought Timothy, if I was there, I'd like get up and I'd like chop bag of shit in his face. He's a wicked man, and he get a dose of his own medicine and can't take it. Get rid of them. Get rid of them.
And that epitomizes the Labour crowd. But forgive them. And forgive this lady, I ask you, because she lives in St. Martin, and she lives in it. Yes, she lives in stool or dung. You know cattle dung. Well, she obviously lives in human dung and collects her night soil in a bucket so she can easily bag it and bring it to St. Kitts to throw it on any one of us. But all of a sudden, everybody seemed to get amnesia and trying to convince me that Timothy Harris and Team Unity did nothing in 7 years. Imagine, as bad and as lie, as negative, and some people may think about the national hero. He was also forced to talk the truth about Timothy. And this is what he said, my Straight Talk family.
Not too long ago, our country fell. Our national debt had soared so high that we became one of the most indebted nations in the world. You may also remember that St. Kitts and Nevis suffered a hurtful bruising of its national image on the world stage, which resulted in Canada and the United States imposing severe sanctions on our beloved nation.
And yes, my Straight Dog family. Well, you must ask the question, who who it is led the rescue. Who led the rescue? We ask ourselves, who led the rescue and helped to repair the national image of St. Kitts and Nevis? That's a fair question. We certainly got amnesia. So we forgot about the vicious crime wave we had in this country. How could we forget this situation, my straight dog family? How could we? I ask you this question.
366 people have been murdered in died. 2006 it was 18, 2007 it was 17, 2008 23, 2009 27. In 2011 35 murders, 2014 24, 2013 23.
And yes, my straight talk family, how could we all of a sudden forget? Well, who it is led the initiative that helped to save lives or the lives of our young men. All of a sudden, everybody gets amnesia and conveniently forget that we are still recovering from the coronavirus-induced pandemic that had a deleterious effect on our economy. How could we forget that, my straight dog family? These are the questions we must ask. We must not be afraid to ask these questions.
The effect on your economy has been dramatic, as it has for the whole region. What do you need in the sense of what assistance? Obviously you want to get tourists back, but if you look at the unemployment, if you look at the tourism industry, what do you think is needed now?
You know, the ideal situation is a Marshall Plan, similar to what was utilized in Europe to bring back the economies. Because, you know, borrowings are not a sustainable solution. I mean, most of the countries within the Caribbean, they are highly indebted. They have very high debt to GDP ratios. Mm-hmm. And in essence, they need grants, they need debt write-offs, and they also need to build capacity in certain critical areas in order to grow businesses.
Our package of assistance and $20 million. This represents the largest assistance package announced by any government in our region to date.
I am not talking about corona. I am not for the roof that I get fixed from this community. I used to live in a house. I used to have 3 buckets in one chair. I could not sleep. I had to make a trip. This one full, remove. The other one full, remove when we went falling hard. I lying down at the time, I see in the sunshine. At night time, the moonlight coming through the roof. The pieces of roof, them dropping down like biscuit. And this government, team unity, put it just like I want it. That the first night, I sleep. I sleep till the morning. The sunrise, I didn't say no. So, I come to the mic to thank Team Unity whole cabinet for the aggressive and their good work. For I couldn't afford to buy 1 pound of nail.
So how can we say that nothing was done in 7 years? Nonsense. Thousands benefited from PAP until Joe got into office and promised for so long to mend the PAP. Or perhaps it means to amend or append the PAP. Young entrepreneurs and small businesses benefited from US $100,000 as part of the Fresh Start program, which was managed by the Development Bank in St. Kitts. But how do you expect me to sit back and be quiet when this government or this new government tries to convince the world that Team Unity did nothing in 7 years? Well, I was in cabinet for 5 of those 7 years and led infrastructure development in this country. Well, I do read my Bible, and I got my instruction from Psalm 32, in particular verses 9 and 10. And I love the King James Version, which says to me, "Be ye not as the horse or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle, lest they come near unto thee. Many sorrows shall be to the wicked, but he that trusteth in the Lord, mercy shall compass him about." In 5 years, we accomplished the most productive era in the development of St. Kitts and Nevis since adult suffrage in 1952. This did not happen by accident. Not at all. Because I, as the minister, understood that the provision of adequate infrastructure, along with macroeconomic stability and a long-term development strategy, is one of the necessary conditions for sustainable economic and social development. And every single portion of our development was funded from revenue, money from the treasury. We knew that charity begins at home. So we never applied the Labour Party investment model, which always looked for a body, especially if he took part in the South Carolina Derby, who brought no money to the country, an empty briefcase, but he got 25 acres of land, US $43 million from the SIDF, and $16 million US from the National Bank that was never repaid. Never repaid. And that's the Labour Party investment model that we knew about.
Christoph Harbor is 2,500 acres of land. We've got 13 miles of shoreline with the property, 6 beaches, of which I would argue that at least 3 of the 6 beaches are in the top 10 beaches in the Caribbean, which I think says a lot about the natural beauty.
That's what they got and brought no money. That was the Labour Party investment model, which was also used at La Valley Greens, which benefited from US $20 million. The minister or former minister of tourism and minister with responsibility for the Frigate Bay Development Corporation, Dwight Astafan, has said nothing about it. He signed the contract, but he says he don't remember. Kitchen Hill got $90 million US. But Prime Minister Drew, it seems, is well inclined to entrench the Douglas Labour Party investment model, albeit it is early times. But he would be well advised to be cautious, especially when dealing with Mark Brantley, who seems to have a strong liking for dubious characters and suspicious business deals. Straight Talk is closely following what seems to be an enticing story from Nevis and the film industry. Since when the Federation got into the movie business is a pertinent question to ask. It is highly speculative and highly risky. Straight Talk did a research of Companies House, which is an executive agency of the United Kingdom government and is sponsored by the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. And I invite you to Google Companies House in the UK. You'll find all the companies and all the information about these companies. They have to file their accounts. So you can find those accounts. And we can report that this film company that was invited to Nevis by Mark Brantley, MSR Media Limited, is registered in England and Wales under the registration number 118-24087. And a search will confirm that the company came to Nevis with what can be called an anemic balance sheet, showing net assets of £11,000. You heard me. An anemic balance sheet showing £11,000 sterling as its net assets. Along with that, MSR brought some fancy words and antics to make blockbuster movies, and Mark Brantley promptly booked a substantial section of the Four Seasons Hotel to accommodate this so-called investor, this so-called filmmaker or film producer and his entourage. This arrangement, we are told, included food, champagne, and all the trappings for stars. The net assets in the balance sheet of MSR Media Limited at 2020, as I said, was £11,000 sterling, which deteriorated tenfold to the peanut value of just over £1,000. So we asked the question, did the NIA pay accommodation or for wine, champagne and lobster? But that did not matter to Mark Brantley. He just did not care. Because even though the country was suffering from the coronavirus-induced pandemic, Mark Brantley attached MSR Media Limited to the St. Kitts and Nevis treasuries. That's what he did. The NIA is propped up monthly with budgetary support from the federal government amounting to $5.5 million, of which MSR is paid $400,000 by the NIA. The so-called investor, film producer or filmmaker, whichever you want to call him, first promised to buy 54 acres of land in Nevis. That was his first promise. He then promised to buy Kittition Hill. And now Straight Talk has learned he's now looking at purchasing the Ocean Terrace Inn. But to date, nothing, nada, has materialized but this promise. The only thing that has materialized is this promise.
Mark Brantley, who is the Premier of Nevis, by the economy.
Yes, there is a financial arrangement with MSR. I believe the number is $150,000.
We are prepared to do 35 films over the next 5 years. Along with our development, we are finalizing the purchase of a hotel in St. Kitts so that we can have a base to produce and train people in St. Kitts.
Yes, and you know, and as we have spoken before, that you will definitely have our support.
Brantley, who is the Premier of Nevis, wanted to diversify the economy.
Yes, there is a financial arrangement with MSR. I believe the number is $150,000.
We are prepared to do 35 films over the next 5 years. Along with our development, we are finalizing the purchase of a hotel in St. Kitts so that we can have a base to produce and train people in St. Kitts.
Yes, and and as we have spoken before, that you will definitely have our support.
35 films, and a figure being touted as 150 million US dollars. Where would that money come from? Where? Mark Brantley must tell us. Prime Minister Drew must tell us as well. Meantime, some of the senior stars are presently being accommodated at Kitchen Hill. Is the Drew administration now subsidizing these low-budget, non-syndicated movies that have been complete flops? Why are these investors allowed to come to St. Kitts and Nevis with no money, an empty pocket, empty briefcase, but with the sole purpose, the sole intention to attach their companies to the treasuries in St. Kitts and Nevis? Why? The Federation needs to head in a new direction. Subsidizing these empty pocket investors is an outdated and corrupt Labour government investment model which should find no place on this new day. The new administration promised a better way, which must be helping those amongst us who are struggling while also addressing the issue of energy, water, housing, jobs through the development of our small businesses, which are critical to our grassroots economy. I posit the view, therefore, that charity begins at home. That's my story for tonight, and I am not going to change it. All I will do now is open the lines and hear from you, my Straight Talk family. We'll open the lines and hear from you, because it's your program. The numbers are 663-6672. That's those in St. Kitts. For those in the diaspora, we can access the program via 646-829-6672. And for those who like the cloak of anonymity, you can access the program via our email platform, that's straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. I always like to implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourself. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of saying and doing those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. At 14 before the 9 o'clock hour, caller, I want to thank you for holding. You are live.
Good evening, Patches. Hope all is well, sir.
All is peaceful, my brother. What about yourself?
Great, great.
Good to hear.
Okay, first of all, I want to congratulate you for alerting those jokers in Labour, where the former Prime Minister Harris was supposed to be seated, or supposed to be sitting, as we say colloquially. After you said it, I went and I looked, I looked during the next session, and there was former Prime Minister Harris sitting just where you say he should have been sitting. And you're trying to tell me none of them knew this? What an upset of people, eh? So the people think it's, thank you very much, Patrick. You're one of the smartest men. I always said, thank God for you and Sylvian Henry. You are the ones who are saving Sinkers. So thank you, Mr. Opposition Leader. Yeah, the opposition leader.
I'm humble.
No, sure. You're a smart man. You're not working, but you're smart. That can't mess with you. No, you have to raise a focus on integrity in public life, Patches, because you're the one who's going to get it done. Integrity in public life and public information. And these things must have teeth in them, okay? Otherwise, the court's going to keep breaking away. You have a house sitting on the beach in Frigate Bay. On the beach. Okay? A house sitting in a gut in Mattingly. And none of the cook hadn't gone to jail. He hadn't gone to jail. What the heck is going on? A house on the beach, and is this a country or what? I mean, come on. A house on the beach in Frigate Bay, a house on a gut in Mattingly, and nobody go to jail. Yeah? I've been one such victim of the corruption of the labor dog mafia. My friends in the States, just the regular white guys, just said to me, when you got on to think this man, you see a house in your life. I said, no, these things don't happen. We are on the British system, we have rule of law and all. My God, I was wrong. Okay, thieves and liars. And the sad thing about it is that the OECS court is corrupt. They're corrupt to the core, the OECS court. The thing for the body, you gotta know them. I'll talk about them sometime. But anyhow, they also need practice for the last thing. They also need to include lifestyle, audits. Yeah, in that, public information or integrity. They have to include, lifestyle audit. You have to. Because some of these new labor dog politicians, they're just sharper than any American movie star. I swear to you. The fellow from number one, I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong, but he's just like, if you see him, his coat and his glasses, they all match. They all match. Come on, where they getting this kind of money? They all dress except, the old man, the Douglas. Douglas, he don't dress to the max like these guys. But the thing is, a man with money, he don't boast about it. He play dumb. Okay. But that boy got money. Anyhow, back is, you keep up the good work, and may God bless you. Have a good evening, sir.
Have a good evening as well, and always thank you for your intervention. I go back to the lines. Caller, thank you for holding your live.
Good night, and how it go?
I am peaceful. Sounds like South Carolina in the house.
Yes.
I've heard you for a long time. All is well?
I'm here. Yes, I watch you every night you're on.
Thank you, my dear.
I watch you every night. My daughter, the oldest one, the second to last one, she's up here now with me, and she said, Mommy is in love with you. I watch you.
I'm blushing.
I don't really call you. Yeah, I don't really call you, but, the last House of Assembly, I was so mad what the Speaker did to our past, Prime Minister. But God is good, and everything can come out. It can work out. It can work out for him, because I wanted him to say what he left. Just like how Douglas had the time to say what he left, I wanted him to say what he left, but they shut him up. So, but everything, okay. Everything going to come out somehow. It's going to work out somehow. But I'm just waiting for him to get his time in the house, because that is where he's supposed to be telling the story, and not on the station, no radio station or nothing. That is where he's supposed to go and give his story. And I pray one of these days they give him the time to say what is what. I want to hear him. I really, really want to hear him. So
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will.
Yes.
I'm sure you will.
Anyway, my granddaughter said good night. My granddaughter said good night.
Yes, give her my regards. Give her my regards.
Okay, I will.
Yes.
I will.
Okay.
Anyway, have a blessed night.
Same to you, my dear.
Until you hear from me again.
I look forward to that. Have yourself a wonderful night as well.
You too.
Okay, my Stray Dog family, it's 8 minutes before the 9 o'clock hour. The clocks in the US are 1 hour behind, so it's 8 minutes before 8 o'clock. remember you have to tune in a little earlier at this time around. But let's go back to the lines and say good night to this caller. Call you live.
Good evening, Patrice.
How are you, my dear brother? Good evening. How art thou?
Oh, radical culture is good, man. I'm good. Thou and Pigeon. Yeah, I'm glad you're good too.
I am peaceful.
If Queen aim blow, you know, was the foul bottom. Now, I'm going to ask a question. Mark Brantley is the leader of the opposition in the federal government. I mean, in the federal parliament. But look at him. If he is the leader of the opposition and he wants to go Taiwan, he should go on his own plane as the leader of the opposition and of the minister of the premier of Nevis. He is supposed to go on the same plane with the government.
What if the Prime Minister invited him?
Eh?
The Prime Minister said he invited him.
Okay. Now, when they go into Parliament, which hat Mark Brantley going to wear in Parliament? Because he's supposed to be over on the opposition bench. But imagine he leave here as an opposition leader and gone to Taiwan with Joe, who is the Prime Minister, and all the other cabal them who he carry with him. What I tell you all? He ain't representing no opposition. He looking a shelter with the government. So when he come back here and he go in Parliament, which hat he gonna wear? The opposition hat or a Labour hat?
Well, to be accurate, I'm sorry to interrupt your culture, but to be accurate, he also invited and took, is it Cleon Simmons, who is in the opposition in the NIA in Nevis. So I don't know if that conclusion is accurate. I know where you're going to, but he did invite Mark Brantley, Alexis Jeffers, and Cleon Simmons from the NIA assembly in Nevis. She's from NRP. So just to be accurate.
Well, I want to tell you people in NRP, don't be fooled with one plate of food one day. All that is softening. He's trying to soften up all you in NRP. But take what they give you and hold all your head high and do what you all set out to do. Don't let them cover you and intimidate all you and fool all you, and then when you look, you get soft and go color with them. Because you see what they are? Who young, they are inexperienced, and they are willing to learn from who have experience. They got one thing in mind, is to victimize people and send it and what do you call it? Turn with people and politicize people. And he said he ain't gonna do that. But look what he do now. Look how many people he done turn away from job. And all who he turn away is who backing Unity. Unity, who was backing it and who backing Unity and PLP. But he think people are stupid. People see what he doing. All the people that he take up and put on this, give them this job and that job. It's people who supporting labor. Everybody's supposed to eat. Dr. Harris never told you nobody when he went in there. A lot of people used to meet me and tell me, but Unity in and them labor people still. Anyway, and they walk still until, look, Dr. Harris leave, gone and they're still. But them they gone, got ton of people because they ain't backing them. Come to Mr. Sean. Sean, you should have known better, brother. It's a pity that you went so far, 5-6 miles in politics. Nearly conclude the 7 miles. And you let 2 men come and pump ignorance in your head. Put you out of bed and now they can't give you biscuit. Mark Brantley come there and talk foolishness to you. And he don't say, plain out, that you ain't going to be the Prime Minister over here. And everybody know that. And his aim was to get you to mash up Unity. And then that you were going to get Prime Minister and then he will bully you for the position of Prime Minister. Because he never feel good as that. First come there and act like that. And you should have known better not to listen to he. And then to add insult to injury, Mr. Simmons come and pump ignorance in your head about hell unity now. Tell them to go where they're going. Because that opportunity is for you. And they were there. And they grudge you. That's why they try to talk you out of it. And now look what they do. They make you work up the government. And then to go and fanboy up in Taiwan. None out of them to the right bike home here in Nevis and St. Kitts. But they gone at the power with him bike. Want to show the people down here that, oh, we out here leisuring and pleasuring. Okay. That is what they're doing.
Okay, my brother, got you. I got you loud and clear. Got you loud and clear, my brother.
Yeah, I'm going, man. I'm going now. But what start wrong, got to end wrong. The government start wrong, and it got to end wrong. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your intervention. As usual, it's 1 minute before the 9 o'clock hour. And we're looking at a special focus tonight on the film industry. And we've heard so much about this film industry as part of our diversification. But I'll get back to that. Let's go to the lines. Caller, you live.
You could hear me because rain coming.
I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, good night.
You want your roof fixed or your roof is already fixed?
Thanks to Right Honorable Timothy.
You got your roof fixed. Okay, God.
I had representative only he wanna see.
Okay.
Okay, anyway, good night.
Good night, my dear.
Yes, I want to tell you, when you start your program, you say respect yourself and others, right? And that's my story. Don't bring the past, but don't follow multitude to say evil. That was disrespectful to the best Prime Minister. In my book, he will go down as the best. Only a matter of time. When he was not doing nothing, All who cheat him out is them get everything. But God in it is still for him. It's very sweet. They forget what they cheat themselves their way in to do. They're coming back on the 11th. Whatever they get or wherever they go, they're bringing back nothing new. Whatever has been done, it was under Honorable Simmons and Dr. Timothy, our best Prime Minister. Never mind they overthrew him. That's why he should have never helped Pam to get in. He get his honor from him. Labour did not want it to them. Even Timothy was a Labour. All had fault. They should have never do that to Timothy. God is good. All at once, everybody want to disrespect your callers. They just find out you have a program. Manners could go with them. And saying disrespect government, respect them. Best Timothy had a government. They forget already and them views and give him name and was doing so good. They did not know he had a government too to say respect. Call me back.
Thank you very much. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. And everyone who is feeling the squeeze, reads this email. Victimization and suffering from the new Labour administration must blame Sean and Mark for having them in that position. These two are the main culprits. Sean got so big, rude and puffed up that his boss could not speak to him anymore. He prided himself in not attending cabinet meetings until his name was removed from the police report. It was such a frivolous and senseless demand to make, and he should be ashamed of himself to call the police commissioner asking him to remove his name, which was impossible to do. And Mark, his lawyer and advisor, purposely failed to give him the correct advice, but allowed him to hang himself politically with his foolish demand, reads this email. And if you're just joining me, my Straight Dog family, it's 3 past the 9 o'clock hour. Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 to 10 in the PM, if you're a first timer. And tonight we are closely following what we consider an enticing story from Nevis and the film industry. We ask ourselves, since when the Federation got into the movie business? And that's a pertinent question to ask, because that business is highly speculative and highly risky. Now, there's a company on Nevis producing films. And Straight Talk did a search of the company's house, which is an executive agency of the United Kingdom government and is sponsored by the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. And we found MSR Media Limited, registered in England and Wales under the registration number 118-24087. And a search confirmed that the company came to Nevis with what can be called an anemic balance sheet, showing, believe it or not, net assets of £11,000. Along with those monies, or that worth, I should say, MSR brought some fancy words and fancy promises and antics to make blockbuster movies. And Mark Brantley was swayed and promptly booked a substantial section of the Four Seasons Hotel to accommodate this so-called investor, this so-called filmmaker. And we are not going to go into his checkered past. We're going to focus on MSR Limited, Media Limited. And he accommodated this filmmaker and his entourage. We are told we found the net assets in the balance sheet of MSR Media Limited at 2020, as I said, was £11,000. And suddenly, the net assets went down tenfold to the peanut value of just over £1,000, £1,200 to be exact. And we asked ourselves, because they are being paid, did the NIA pay for accommodation plus the wine, the champagne, and the lobster absorbed by these people? But that did not matter to Mark Brantley. Mark Brantley did not care. In 2020, they came in when we were under the COVID lockdown. And even though the country was suffering from the coronavirus-induced pandemic, Mark Brantley attached MSR Media Limited to the St. Kitts and Nevis treasuries. I say so because the NIA is propped up monthly with budgetary support from the federal government. He can hardly pay civil servants, but he pays MSR $150,000 monthly, $400,000. This so-called investor, this so-called filmmaker or film producer, he promised to purchase 54 acres of land in Nevis. He then promised to buy Kitchen Hill in St. Kitts. And now he has said, or Straight Talk has learned, he's now looking at purchasing the Ocean Terrace Inn. But to date, nothing has materialized but this promise, again, from MSR and its owner.
Diversify the economy.
Yes, there is a financial arrangement with MSR. I believe the number is $150,000.
We are prepared to do 35 films over the next 5 years. Along with our development, we are finalizing the purchase of a hotel in St. Kitts so that we can have a base to produce and train people in St. Kitts.
Yes, and you know, and as we have spoken before, that you will definitely have our support.
Imagine that. A man comes with empty wallet, an empty briefcase, valued 1,000 pounds. And in just under 2 years, he's buying a hotel? Come on. Shouldn't we investigate that to see who is getting what and how he gets there so fast? How does St. Kitts Nevis measure the benefits derived from this investment of 150,000 US dollars per month? We understand in 5 years, the 35 films would cost some $150 million. That's almost $4 million per month, if you do the maths. Some of the senior stars are presently being accommodated at Citizenship Hill. So we ask the question, we want to know what's in this agreement, Prime Minister Joe. Is your administration now subsidizing these low-budget, non-syndicated movies that have been complete flops? Is there where the money is going? That's why we're going in the red? Why are these investors allowed to come to St. Kitts with no money? No money in their wallets, no money in their briefcases, but with the sole intention to attach their companies to the treasuries in St. Kitts and Nevis. The Federation needs to head in a new direction. That's what you promise. That is what you promise, Prime Minister Joe. We need to head in a new direction and stop subsidizing these companies. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Okay, that caller. We lost that caller. Yes, the numbers again, 663-6672 and or 646-829-6672. Those are the numbers you can access the program by. Again, yes, we are also being streamed on radio Win FM, but please don't use those numbers. The only access numbers to this program are 663-6672. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Good night, Mr. Liburd. How are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
I am too. Subsidizing. We are accustomed to that. Each government going to you. And the people come in yesterday ain't got no money. And let them lend them. I didn't even know I thought they were supposed to come with money. But years ago, I went to I heard them say, that's what it does. They come with them to briefcase and they borrow our money and open business.
That's
what they look at, huh?
And that's what you support? You agree with that?
Well, it's going on for years, though. Someone do it, Dougie do it, and Timothy ain't to do it because we really open a big business here right now. So, I mean, well, you ain't there when you get to work, maybe that would have happened too.
So why can't the ordinary people get the money instead of bringing in these people with the empty pockets and using our money?
That's what I mean, We need guidance, and that will happen. We're not going to guide them.
Okay.
The country will perish. Because for my thing, right, if you're coming in, if I come in to you and say, well, I'm buying something from you, you don't think I should have the money, even half the money, if not all, and say, well, when you finish pay a 50,000, I'll come back and pay the other 50,000 that you give me, and then say, man, whenever you get it, you pay it. I don't know. Well, what did I look at too? Maybe to my instinct, what I look at. When if anything go wrong, then maybe they tell us of the country. could hold the building and the gone. So I don't know if that's what they look at. But I believe that something with a smaller be doing and subsidized and kind of thing. No, I don't know what's going on here. Every people want work. I mean, I wouldn't say they want to work, but it is a 50-50 chance of taking. You're doing that deal. And with the other thing again, I don't know when the people, when I talk about the traveling day on Monday, they say the complimentary. So I don't know, that's why they get invited. People want to know why these go to chip so fast.
Which travel?
So quick. Huh?
Which travel?
They went out to Taiwan and Egypt about. So they say the guy told me complimentary.
Well, Taiwan, the Taiwanese government, I wouldn't be surprised. I am sure would have subsidized the cost for them to travel, but the other costs are not subsidized. The Taiwanese government would sponsor the official state visit.
All I wanted them to do, they're going to find work for people for 2024. I mean 2023, because in 2022, no, sorry about the mistake. Because as you see, out of world getting so tight up on people who out there getting, some of them may want to come home and I give it up for Americans. So they need to go out there. They say they're going and traveling. I hope they're going on the country business and not their own. There's things they're doing we're in a place of right now, what we hear happening. I think it's a just moving too fast like a hurricane. We don't need that. I think they take the time and do what they had to do, either more pleasant. And they turning over people. It's been going on all the years, Mr. Lai, but people always, when you get in, let me always just be an ear. If I was working for a government entity, send a home, this and that, even that's strong and I feel I could have worked maybe 2-3 more years. Yes, send a home. They find some kind of mistake about me. I said, no, but that's always continue going on. I met a lady. I'm not telling you. I ain't talking because I want to big up Mr. Joe. But I met a lady. Right? The same election. Right along Liverpool Road. And I said, me a long time means to you. Say, well, when I was working, when the government changed in 2015, I got to get turned over too. I said, oh, and so on. I told her a long time I haven't seen her, so, and she just came back in maybe a day or two before election or what. So I don't know why they keep doing it. I think we could have shift them. But I heard somebody was telling over a Labour friend of mine. This thing be happening. Mr. Bradshaw Days said no. I say yes. You're a young man. You live up in Newtown. I don't have to remember good. Going up there by the NH and the other side, I forget his name now. He used to run bus. Used to run a truck and so. Right? Yeah, now they had to migrate in the 70 and 75 after election. They are running a thing now in it, like a restaurant. You know who I mean? I can't remember his name now.
Bing Charles?
Warner.
Son Warner.
Yes, Warner. So he come to my mouth. Yeah, then the people have to, and a lot of people have to go Canada, migrate all over because this man, Mr. Bradshaw, insists you ain't working. You ain't back in me, you can't get work, nothing.
Bradshaw deported people.
Huh?
Bradshaw deported people now.
Yes, I remember a man from Ngami from up in Antigua.
Yep.
You live up here. You play instrument, you play music years ago with Elementary Joyce. So you know you were living there right now, the house abandoned place, I don't know what. And he just said, better this to him because he's saying he ain't pleased with what's going on in the 70s there. So I don't know, it's just a continued thing, but I don't know. Even though you're not, okay, maybe you not want them in the office. What you know is supposed to be privately, but put them somewhere else. I think that's the best to do. You know, shift them here, shift them there. If they ain't like them, the job altogether, well, they come off on their own. But I could grow up make this thing, man. You know, in the 70s, is putting you put it on in you. I tell the people got to run out of you. You know it. You sure when you went out there to play, you meet a lot of people, you bump into them. Policeman, nurse, doctor, and all that. It wasn't easy, you know. Yep. You know, Mr. Butcher, they said, well, Mr. DeGrasse. He went away to study, and went away, come back, say he wanted to. And we're like, you can't be too much over me. You step down there. Yeah, so it is ongoing all the time. I don't know why they I mean, you could shift them, as I tell you already. I don't want you to be my secretary. I will be working with Mr. Timothy. You may not want me to be your secretary because you're so well. I hear this personal and you don't want me to carry news to him, but put me somewhere else. But you know, we ain't got enough work here for people, no, you don't know. No, we ain't have enough work, so I hope they go out there in our business. And the 2023 look a little bright go down there because I don't know. It's going to be too much overload. So many people have got to go back somewhere they come from because think we ain't got enough work. Okay, have a good night.
Thank you for your input. Have yourself a good night as well. And, you know, as the lady was saying that it happened with all governments, but the question is, should it happen in terms of the victimization, as the new administration is famous for saying it's a new day and a better way. But, however, in respect to our discussion tonight in relation to what I advance, in that the administration, the predecessor administration to the current one, did quite a lot of development in the country. And we have to stop the nonsense about nothing was done for 7 years. It's absolute rubbish. Because if we reflect, in the 5 years from 2015 to 2020, we accomplished more than was ever accomplished by any government in this country since adult suffrage in 1952. And it did not happen by accident. It was planned. It was planned because we understood that the provision of adequate infrastructure, along with macroeconomic stability and a long-term development strategy, is one of the necessary conditions for sustainable economic and social development. And every facet of that development was funded from revenue from the Treasury. Except, I should add this, save and except the Old Road Bay project, which was funded by the Republic of China and Taiwan to the tune of some $34 million. But we know, I said, we know that charity begins at home. So we never applied what I call the Douglas Labour Party investment model, which always looked for a buddy, especially if that buddy took part in the South Carolina Derby, who brought no money to the country, but got 25 acres of our prime land and $43 million from the SIDF, plus $16 million from the National Bank that was never repaid. And they boasted that they had some amount of acres of beachfront, which were the best beachfront in the Caribbean. That was their boast. That's how they boasted. That they got so many beaches in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Christoph Harbor is 2,500 acres of land. We've got 13 miles of shoreline with the property, 6 beaches, of which I would argue that at least 3 of the 6 beaches are in the top 10 beaches in the Caribbean, which I think says a lot about the natural beauty.
And that's what they got. But that was the Labour Party investment model, which was also used at the Valley Greens, which benefited from US $20 million. And Kittitian Hill got $90 million. And it seems now that Prime Minister Drew is inclined to entrench that Douglas Labour Party investment model. Albeit it is early times, but we are looking very closely at you, Prime Minister. And I want to advise you to be cautious when dealing with Mark Brantley. Mark Brantley has a strong liking. He's always entangled over the years with dubious characters and suspicious business deals. I thought I would deal with the bankrupt Nevis Limited tonight, but I said no. That needs more time and a special program to deal with that as well. But Straight Talk is closely following the film industry as it unfolds in Nevis. But let's go to the lines and say good night, caller. You're live at 8:25.
Yes. Good evening, Packers. I want to know what think it's doing. We supposed to hold the land them because all we don't vote and all we don't make noise. So we need the land them. So we nobody selling the land them out to other people for. We don't vote and we want the land them. And the hotel and all, we want it here too. So that's what you know what you're doing. You take care. Have a good night, Patrick.
Have a good night, my dear. That's my dear friend from down west. And I agree with you, hold the land. But we are following closely what seems to be an enticing story from Nevis and the film industry. And we are establishing that the Federation has now got into the movie business. I think they say the orange economy. That's what they tout and tried to fool us with. It is highly speculative and it's highly risky. But there's a company that seems to be getting fat on the hog, as we say in colloquial terms. That company, MSR Media Limited. And all of a sudden, Drew has promised its support because he seemed to be in bed with that company. And I understand what Culture was trying to say earlier, but I had to just provide the facts. Yes, it's very strange that the leader of opposition would travel in a party, but that's for another time. But we did a search in the United Kingdom, and you can do likewise. Google the companieshouse.uk.com and you will find that agency, the executive agency of the United Kingdom government, sponsored by the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. MSR Media Limited is registered in England and Wales under the registration number 118240887. And the search will confirm that when the company got to Nevis, it had what we can call an anemic balance sheet. Peanuts. 11,000 pounds. But let's go back to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello, caller?
Patrick.
Yes, sir.
Patrick, good night.
Hey, hello, Jamdown. How are you? Good night, man.
I'm fine, my buddy. They say that master they come, but they're fooling. Oh yes, they're fooling. They ain't fooling me. Good night, King Elima. Finally got it to do down here. Again, when the film company, who pays the money? The federal government or the Nevis Island Assembly?
Well, that's a very interesting question. We give the NIA $5 million each month. So, you know, and out of which they pay 400,000. Yeah. Just like that. Have a good night, my dear brother. I think I may not have sent you live, Jam Down, and I'm sorry about that. But let's go back to this line. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Patrick, good night.
Good night, my brother.
Patrick, first, I always want to thank God for the Federation of St. Nevis, a country we're born into and live into, and doing well for myself and trying to help others. But I listen to different radio talk show. I ain't much in the politics now. You understand? I ain't much in the politics now because I know our politics every 5 years and I take a break from the politics. But Patrick, let me tell you something. People got a problem with people migrating from different country to other country, right? We know that citizens migrate to other countries, and some of them do well, some of them ain't do so well, because where some of them went to what they could do, they ain't do it, and they get a pension back for them from that country. You understand? But Patrick, let me tell you something. If our people was here, economically strong and want to work for themselves, and try to build for themselves and do for themselves, I believe that so much people would not come in this country, come look to work. Because I remember we had sugarcane. Yep. When we had sugarcane, who we had to send to cut our sugarcane? The Guyanese.
True.
We had to send for the St. Vincent and the Dr. Simmons. And that is, it go and go and go. That if we do an industrious in our country and try to look at trade and try to build ourselves, and other people come in because you know it's a free movement now, the free movement, the treaty Shagaramus. So people come in the country and get work. If they get a skill, they come and they do the trade and whatever. But we got Patches, I used to think this same way too. But Patches, let me tell you something. If we're not people migrate from other country committing thinking, I believe that our economy will not down because these same people come in, they're going to do better and our people will live because a lot of our people ain't want to work. Look at them, our young men. Look at what they want to do. These people come with trade. If you're going to work and look at trade, man, you can't find a plumber. You can't find a carpenter. If you do for the carpenter, a plumber, or somebody else, they're from overseas. They're from Jamaica, they're from Guyana, they're from San Domingo, from the other part of the world. We got to think about uplift ourselves and uplift our people. You understand? Because our people come interested in doing one thing. You know? And I believe some of them spoil from government, spoil from different governments. They want to work, they want to know the shit, they want to do nothing. Just want to go and do something easy, work up for our toes and get money and go back home and sing. Anyway, Patrick, you have a wonderful night. That's my message to tonight. As I tell you, I'm keeping out of the politics. Politics will 5 years.
So you change your name
I ain't going to harass myself. The people don't need like a government. What's the Patrick?
So you change your name now?
So what the name will always the name done run. I will make it a politics because right. I will discuss politics, but I won't come on and do it as much as I used to do it.
Good to hear.
You know?
Good to hear. All is well otherwise,
yeah,
right?
Politics every 5 years.
Okay.
All right, then, Patrick, take care.
Have a good night, my brother. Good to hear you. Mr. Politics said he's done with the politics. Politics is every 5 years, and one could understand that. But as I was saying, going back to our topic tonight, and the film industry, I looked at MSR Media Limited, and the search uncovered that this company came to Nevis with weak, nutshell balance sheet showing net assets in 2020 of £11,000. And all they came with, in addition to the balance sheet, is some fancy promises to make blockbuster movies, 35 blockbuster movies. And Mark Brantley promptly booked them into the Four Seasons Hotel and accommodated this so-called investor filmmaker and his entourage. And this arrangement, we are told, included food, champagne, lobster for these stars. But let's go back to the lines. I'll get back to that, my Straight Dog family. Call you live. Hello, caller.
We don't have a lot of work, yes, but foreigners taking up all. This is not the time, and it's getting worse. So criticians must buy and can't get a job or catch them. Let them ball, if them put them there. Them alone must get everything. You cousin so right. I don't know where the whole people land so they come into government, make the people them don't pay surveyor and the treasury. That's not fair. It's nearly almost 2 months now. Give the people them the land. They commit them with it. And the man right to say you want a fair share because you have a lot of people to pay. How much tongue you got? See you. Have a good night. Get home safely.
Thank you very much, my dear. Have yourself a good night as well. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Good night. Good night once again.
Good night, my dear.
What are you talking about? The movies is on the plane. Don't you understand that? Back when we both the other night,
somebody tell him they was going somewhere, and when the plane put on the movie, it was one of the movies from Nevis. So what you worrying about? They're showing on the plane.
Okay, my dear. Thank you very much. You saw it on your way back to Carolina, right?
No,
you didn't see it. Okay.
Someone told him.
Or someone told him. Okay.
Okay then.
Have a good night, my dear. Have a good night. Let's go back to the lines, caller. Thank you for holding your live. Hello, caller.
Mr. Patrick.
Yes, my dear.
Yes, what happened to the land? I mean, you tell my girlfriend, Miss Alice, about. You land them like soul. You know, when you have something you sold it 3-4 times. Right now we land in a mix. I know a friend told me she was praying for piece of land too. And someone went and do what they like with the land, and then no, I said, well, you didn't go to Mr. Jury, said it's a wait till January. Yes, the people that tell me they were doing a lot of stupidness, and our mind, our back in them at one time, you know. They ain't crying for nothing. They were doing a lot of stuff because this one person, right? You can't take one land and sell it 3-4 times. It used to happen years ago. And I don't know, they come back with a trick again. Right? The last thing. And that's what happened. The same person was working at NHC at one. They shift them, put them somewhere else, and they never had the manners, and they put them out. You know, they came back in when fail to come in, you know. It's them make the land tie up. Nobody wants nobody land. Is the land tie up? One person told me I have a brother. Whoever has a brother. Don't pay it off for the land, right? And the person take the land and sell it to someone else right out in the borough area, the Molyneux going Molyneux way. So it's a lot of mix up with this land thing. You can't miss it, purchase, you can't buy it. If you bought piece of land and you think you was the rightful owner, when you look here, me want the owner, somebody else the owner, and so.
Well, let me ask you a question.
And that's what happened to the land right now.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Where you got that information from, though?
You know where they're from, from Boston.
Over where?
I'm from Inter. Well, a person, the man tell me so. His brother.
Okay, somebody told you so. Okay, I just asked you this was some information.
His brother told me that, yeah.
Okay, I just
they were
checking.
saying that, yeah, they said they were saying they didn't like the idea about her. Because I don't pay for the land. We want to take my land and sell it to somebody else. You know, where the Molyneux mango grafted the ground was, it's right behind you. And I pass a container right on the land over you. So it's a mix up with the land, so it's easy to there are a lot of land to straighten out. One land must be gone to 3, 4, 5 people. Yeah, that's the land problem now. So they got to do it by now in January, but and go down till they get it straightened out. You know, taking back the back and you know, it's gonna tie up. I think.
Well, that's coming from the Shadow Minister of Lands there, no doubt, saying the land is tied up. But getting back to the issue, we asked the question, did the NIA pay for accommodation plus the champagne plus the wine? Caller, you live.
Yes, Patches. They pay for accommodation.
How you know that?
They paid for it. Knowing the behavior of the leader. You hear how many what they call a movies they can have up there? And you don't tell me that he gonna let them to come in and pay for the thing? Now how much money, how much million you said they get in every month from the federal government?
Not million. They said 150,000 US, $400,000.
Okay, every month.
From the NIA, yes.
Okay, and they were getting that when Unity was in.
Well, yes, I think it started in 2020. Yeah.
Right, okay. Now, you see how crooked Mark Bantley is? He was getting that while the Unity government was in. And every talk is that Nevis ain't getting a fair share. Well, it's the same money he getting now. So what happened now? Why you don't talk about fair share? The same money he used to say he ain't getting the fair share. Now he getting the same money here. He ain't talking about fair share anymore. Keep on boy styling off in word and laughing and putting up an kind of thing for people to laugh. Now let me come to this prison here now, down here. I want to tell Mark Wilkin this. If you don't want to say hush.
Not Mark Wilkin, Garth Wilkin.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, Garth Wilkin. Now he gonna say the prison is not priority. The new prison. When into the old 1840, is human being in there and they're living in some dilapidated state condition in there, which is not healthy for animals, never mind people. And the quicker that thing over there done in Estridge, is it better for the people them who got to be incarcerated. So when you gonna talk about the prison not priority, he don't know what he's saying. And then come to the school now. The new school structure don't start the foundation and they leave that. And so they're going to break down the old one to go rebuild you. I wonder if they're not to break down the old one and build a new one, it's going to cost more than to put up a new school up there where the new one's supposed to go. So when they come in and talking on the radio, they're only talking that people can say, well, he determined, he sounds like he can do something. But what they're doing is a whole heap of nonsense. Now you see, all them passport what they sell already, you know. Them people, where they gonna come to go live and work? In the same prison? When they criticize the CBI passport when they were out. Now look look how much the Prime Minister done sign. Where them they gonna live? And little sinkers, are they gonna make another Port Zante? Well, the party is too much a thing to talk, you mean? But time in there, so good night.
Good night, my brother. Thanks for your intervention. With majority of the voters coming from overseas, or who came from overseas rather, those overseas voters should come back to vote out Labour. It is disgraceful with what the PMJ. It is graceful actually then that the PMJ don't have a clue what he's doing to this country. I am not going to hell with them, for I never voted for them. So many poor people have half a hoghead, can't buy blocks for near 20 years. Living on pit latrines, still voted for the Labour government. Now they're balling. I ain't sorry for not one of them. Tim gave them benefits, Jew took them away. Patches, my conclusion is the SKN people love blows. Them love bad treatment, so let them take black eyes. Reads this email. This other email reads, good evening, sir. This is shocking. Are you telling me that the Premier of Nevis, Brantley, didn't do any kind of due diligence on this smart-talking peanuts movie maker? Looks like Mark Brantley took our fair share and shared out to foreigners. If not so, then the foreign man hoodwinked Brantley. Which is it? Asks this emailer. This other email reads, Patches, this group first went to Barbados, who kicked them out. They then came to St. Kitts and Nevis. That's this email. And a good question raised there by that emailer is whether Mark Brantley did any due diligence. What did Mark Brantley do? But it did not matter to Mark Brantley. He just did not care. Because even though the country was suffering under COVID, he attached MSR Media Limited to the St. Kitts, Nevis and Nevis treasuries. He connected this company to both treasuries. Labour people houses got fixed under the unity government reads this email. More Labour people houses got fixed under the unity government than any other government, reads this email. Let them not forget the skills training under Tim during COVID, and the people who attended still received a stipend weekly. They had computer, sewing, upholstery, and many more skills training under Tim at the youth skills. None of them could do like it, or could do like Tim, best PM ever. Brantley is a snake. Just look at his eyes. I don't have much to say about that man, but he loves to manipulate people like Drew, who don't have a clue, and Sean, but can't with Tim, who was trying to secure a safer future for all. Let them ponder on what Tim meant when he said safer. Me, shame, Sean Sotail. Shame, I dig out me eye. Reads that email. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live at 12.
Yes, yes, good evening, all parties against me. Listening and watching that think it. We want them to think it enough. Because I love think it's bad and think it's sexy. So I love think it's bad. So I call it on the Prime Minister to look after thinking. Don't follow with them foreign thing. Because we can't go in foreign country and buy all kind of land and all kind of thing. So I call him the name. And when he come back, God say, I got to make a meeting with him. Because I want to know how my country running. Yes, I want labor. I'm a labor woman, but I friendly with everybody. And I got to talk to him, to explain to him what he wants. He's thinking, we want we land, and we want we hotel, or the place over there.
Well,
if I had the first music festival, we want that fixed up, and let the government building fixed up. Before he gonna give me all the money, and I want some in my hand too. See you, thank you.
Oh, my Labour friend. She says she's gonna get an audience with Joe. But the NIA, let's not lose sight of this fact. The NIA is propped up monthly with budgetary support from the federal government since under the Team Unity administration under Tim Harris, which amounts to $5.5 million per month, or $66 million per year. That's the budgetary support given to the NIA. But out of that, Brantley finds 150,000 US, 150,000 US to pay the MSR Media Limited. And he said this, straight talk always bring you the facts. So here's what Mark Brantley said about MSR Media Limited.
Diversify the economy.
Yes, there is a financial arrangement with MSR. I believe the number is $150,000.
We are prepared to do 35 films over the next 5 years. Along with our development, we are finalizing the purchase of a hotel in St. Kitts so that we can have a base to produce and train people in St. Kitts.
Yes, and you know, and as we have spoken before, that you will definitely have our support.
This so-called investor, filmmaker, or film producer, when he came in 2020 during the COVID, during the height of the COVID, he first promised, on the basis of our investigations, he promised to buy 54 acres of land in Nevis. Mark you, he came with net assets of some 1,200 pounds sterling. The pound sterling, it's about $4 per EC, 4 EC dollars per pound. So do your maths. And he promised to buy 54 acres of land. in Nevis. That move, he tried to play St. Kitts against Nevis. So then he comes to St. Kitts and promised to buy the Kittitian Hill. He's still in St. Kitts, playing mark now, not against Jew, but linking them together. And comes with this smart talk. He's no longer buying Kittitian Hill. He's now buying the Ocean Terrace Inn, the OTI. But to date, nothing has materialized from these promises. But I ask the question that we must ask ourselves, how does St. Kitts Nevis measure the benefits derived from this investment thus far? Some of the senior stars are presently being accommodated at Kittitian Hill, which tells us that Jew is now subsidizing MSR Media Limited as well. And we ask the question so that the Prime Minister Jew can answer. Is your administration now subsidizing these low-budget, non-syndicated movies that have been complete flops? We ask as well, why are these investors allowed to come to St. Kitts with no money, not 1 cent, with an empty wallet or an empty briefcase, but with a sole purpose to attach their companies to the treasuries in St. Kitts and Nevis? Because that's exactly what MSR Limited is doing. And the Federation needs to head in a new direction and stop subsidizing these empty pocket investors in an outdated and corrupt labor government investment model. And that should find no place in the 21st century in St. Kitts and Nevis. You said and promised a new day. He promised a better way. So if that is true, your action must speak louder than your words. You must start helping those amongst us who are many, who are struggling. You must start addressing the issue of energy, the issue of water. You must start addressing the issue of housing. You must start addressing the issue of jobs through the development of our small businesses, which are critical to our grassroots economy. Look at what's happening to the mom and pop shops all around the country. In my own constituency on George Street, my friend used to refer to it as fallopian tube of commerce in Bastille. But the mom and pop shops have disappeared, replaced by the Chinese supermarkets. And yes, the Spanish clubs. But I posit the view, as I said, that charity begins at home. Our people must understand that we have a nation of which we should be proud. We must understand that we must improve and enhance our self-esteem. And I want to say, as I started tonight, and in particular for those who joined me belatedly, I believe that we must declare, all of us, that charity begins at home. And I first declare that the beauty of St. Kitts and Nevis lies in our cultural, religious, and inter-island diversity. And as a young boy growing up in St. Kitts, I've always heard them say that charity begins at home. I firmly share the view that if we all stay focused and work together, we can make this period in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis one where economic growth and prosperity touches all citizens regardless of their gender, economic, and or political status. For this to be achieved, however, our development must be people-centered. It must be people-driven, and it must be anchored on human dignity and security. In 2015, we entered a period of togetherness as the newly formed tripartite political coalition between three political parties, one on Nevis and two on St. Kitts. After a successful term in office between 2015 and 2020, thence came a sudden lust for power by Sean Richards, which led to the near destruction of the PAM party. And this was coupled with an unbridled greed for money on the part of Mark Brantley. Caller, if you can use 30 seconds, I'll take this call. Can you use 30 seconds? I'm almost out of time.
Okay. I just call back in because you make me call back. With the man who want to come here, come talk about he invest with the little bit of pounds from England to buy the load of acres of land.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope Gert Wilkin realize now who ain't friendly with our treasury.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he dig deep and see that. So when he said that some people never friendly with our treasury and he don't want to embarrass them, I hope he see that. Good night. Less than 30 seconds.
Thank you for your understanding, my brother. Good night. That's our final call for the night. And just to wrap tonight, my Straight Dog family, Mark Brantley blinded those whom he led captive, and in the fulfillment of his passion, hurried them madly along without regard for truth, without regard for justice or injustice, and accompanied by a disgraceful contempt for the people who supported this new concept of unity. And you know what happened since then. But since taking office, the demise of Team Unity saw the sudden rise of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. But since taking office, many concerns have been raised about the excessive number of trips overseas that the new Labour government ministers have embarked upon over the last 3 months. The size of their contingent is alarming. But this is a time when, as a government, they should buckle down and learn how to govern. How can they perform as an administration when they do not understand how government works? But they are young. And that gives me and should give us some hope. But they need to settle down and focus on running the country and executing the work that people sent them to do, and avoid and finish away with the distractions about Team Unity did nothing in 7 years. Nonsense. My Straight Dog family, we know the truth, and nobody should be allowed to rewrite history. But tonight, we looked at the labor investment model, whereby they give people money to buy our property, to buy our land. And they want to muzzle us. But as I said before, and I'll say in parting, I will not be like a horse or a mule that has no understanding and whose mouth must be held with bit and bridle, lest they will come near me. No, I will speak the truth. I will speak the truth. We are fed up of all these investors that come to St. Kitts without a cent in their pocket and are ushered into our banks to use our money. That was the Labour Party investment model, which was used at Christopher Harbour, La Valley Greens, and Kitchen Hill. Prime Minister Drew has now come and seemed inclined to entrench that Douglas Labour Party investment model. It's early times, but he would be well advised, as I said, to be cautious when dealing with Mark Brantley, who just seemed to have a penchant, a strong liking for dubious characters, beg your pardon, and suspicious business deals. We are following the film industry in Nevis. We did a search at Company's House, and Media, or MSR Media Limited, came to St. Kitts with peanuts, a net balance sheet, if you look at Company's House, of just £1,200. The NIA paid for his accommodation. We are popping up the NIA monthly with a budgetary support from which they pay MSR Limited some $400,000 per month. This investor promised so many things: to buy land, to buy Kitchen Hill. Now he's buying OTI. Nothing has materialized. Is the Drew administration now subsidizing these low-budget, non-syndicated movies that have complete flops? Why are these investors allowed to come to St. Kitts Nevis with no money, but with the sole intention to attach their companies to the treasuries in St. Kitts and Nevis? The Federation, I conclude, needs to head in a new direction. Subsidizing these empty pocket investors is outdated and corrupt. An outdated and corrupt Labour government investment model, which would find no place in this new century, on this new day. We need to find a better way, Prime Minister Drew, which must be helping those amongst us who are struggling, others who need it. You must address the issue of energy, water, housing, jobs through the development of our small businesses, which are critical to our grassroots economy. I posit the view that charity begins at home. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I must thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, and as always, I must thank all of you who called, those who sent emails, those who followed on social medias, Facebook, YouTube, and on WinFM Radio. Remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I am Ian Patches Liburd, and God's willing, I will join you for another edition of Straight Talk this coming Monday. Until then, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. And remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light and thank Him for taking you to the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye until we connect on Monday.
When I wake in the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees, to the Lord I kneel and pray. My heart and soul, beg Him to take me through each day. My guardian to keep and my guide over every step I take. He will preside. So whatever my mind conceive that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should. Be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. With strength and courage from above, no man I'll fear, since God protects me with His love. Strong, pure and true, and so sincere, 'cause my knees are all